Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, we are really getting into something fundamental. We've got this stack of material connecting vulnerability, courage, trust, and what it really means to lead today.
Yeah, and it's pulling from all over, isn't it? Organizational behavior, shame research, even work with, like, military special forces. It's quite a mix.
Exactly. It's not just one perspective. And our mission here really is to pull out the absolute core insights for you, especially that big aha moment around why we self-protect.
And how that armor we use actually pushes us away from the connection and, well, the courage we're actually looking for.
Right. So let's jump in. Maybe start with the basics. Vulnerability. What is it, technically speaking?
Okay, so stripping away all the kind of cultural baggage around it, the definition is pretty straightforward. Vulnerability is the emotion we feel when we're facing uncertainty, risk, and emotional exposure.
Uncertainty, risk, emotional exposure.
All three. All three, yeah. It's not weakness, it's not oversharing, it's just feeling those things at the same time.
Okay, that feels significant. So how does that connect directly to courage? Because the material makes a really strong claim there.
It does. It basically says courage is impossible without vulnerability. The research, including that work with special forces you mentioned,
Yeah.
they couldn't find a single example, not one, of courage that didn't involve uncertainty, risk, or emotional exposure.
Wow. Okay. So courage isn't the absence of fear or risk.
No, it's the willingness to show up, to be all in, even when you can't predict or control the outcome, if you know it's going to work out. That's not courage, that's just execution.
Got it. So if vulnerability and fear are part of courage, what's the real problem? Why do we struggle? The sources say it's not actually the fear itself.
Right. It's the armor. Fear is natural, right? It's a human response to risk. But the armor is what we reach for almost automatically to protect ourselves from feeling that vulnerability.
And that's what moves us away from connection, from our values.
Exactly. It's the self-protection mechanism that ends up isolating us.
So what does this armor look like? Is it like hiding?
It can be lots of things. Perfectionism is a big one. Trying to make everything look so flawless no one can possibly criticize you.
Okay.
Or needing to be in control, micromanaging everything. Even sometimes making really fast, reckless decisions just to get out of the discomfort of not knowing.
Just ending the uncertainty, even if the choice is bad.
Precisely. And the sources really hammer this home. The hardest part is just noticing your armor when it shows up. Becoming aware of it in the moment.
It's like training then, not a quick fix.
Definitely. It's about training yourself to recognize, okay, I feel exposed here, and instead of grabbing that old shield,
Yeah.
you choose to stay aligned with what matters to you, your values.
Yeah. And speaking of feeling exposed, the research points to something really surprising as the most vulnerable emotion. It's not sadness or fear.
What is it?
It's joy.
Joy. How is joy vulnerable? That seems counterintuitive.
Well, think about it. Joy is when we let ourselves fully feel happiness, maybe believe something good could actually last. And that means we're completely open to the possibility of disappointment or loss. So we're afraid of having the rug pulled out from under us.
Exactly. The source talks about foreboding joy. People actively dampen their happiness. They kind of rehearse tragedy.
So they won't be blindsided if something bad happens.
Right. They choose to live kind of disappointed rather than risk getting their hopes up and being, as the source puts it, sucker punched by disappointment. It's another form of armor.
Wow. Okay, that really reframes things. So if we're trying to be more courageous, more connected, we need vulnerability. But that feels risky. How do we build the safety net for that? Which I guess brings us to trust.
Yes, and the marble jar theory. It's such a perfect metaphor.
Explain that one. Where did it come from?
It actually came from a conversation with a fourth grader. The idea is simple. Trust isn't built in big, grand gestures. It's built really slowly, one small action at a time, like putting one marble in a jar.
I like that. It takes the pressure off needing some heroic act.
Absolutely. It's about the small moments, day in, day out. The examples are things like, offering someone a seat when it's crowded, checking in on someone if they've been sick, remembering small, important details about people, like their parents' names. The source mentions Ma and Opa.
Little things that signal, I see you, I care, I'm reliable.
Exactly. Tiny marbles in the jar. And the research calls these moments sliding door moments.
Sliding door moments, like the movie.
Sort of, yeah. It refers to those tiny choice points that can change everything.
Okay.
The Gottman research has this great example.
Okay.
Imagine your partners, say, brushing their hair, and they seem upset, maybe crying quietly. You have a choice. Do you stop, turn, and ask gently, what's wrong?
Oh.
Or do you pretend not to notice? Just walk past, avoid the discomfort? That choice, right there, is a sliding door moment. It either puts a marble of trust in the jar, or it's a small betrayal.
That really lands. Okay, so trust is built marble by marble. What about when it breaks? Is it always a big smash?
Well, sometimes it is a big smash, right? Like infidelity, a huge public lie. That shatters the jar. It's awful, but it's often clear.
Right. You know what happened?
But the source argues that the most painful break, the really damaging one, is what's called the ragged break.
A ragged break.
Yeah, it happens through slow, consistent, emotional disengagement, constantly choosing not to turn towards your partner, your colleague, your friend in those sliding door moments.
Yeah, pulling away bit by bit.
Exactly. And that makes the other person doubt themselves, doubt their reality. It's agonizing because it's so unclear.
That makes so much sense. And being able to engage, to turn towards someone, relies on understanding emotions, which the research says most of us are really bad at.
Shockingly bad, actually. This was a huge finding. The average adult can accurately name only 3 emotions.
Wait, only 3? Which ones?
Happy, sad, and pissed off.
That's it. Seriously.
Seriously. So think about the implications when you don't have the words for, say, grief or anxiety or disappointment or even anguish. Where does it go?
It just gets lumped under. Pissed off.
Pretty much. It defaults to anger or maybe just a general bad. And if you can't name what you're feeling, you can't understand it, you can't communicate it, you can't move through it.
Which just reinforces the need for armor because you can't even articulate what's going on inside.
Precisely. The lack of emotional literacy is a massive barrier to vulnerability and connection.
Okay, so this lack of nuance inside connects outwards, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Let's talk about power and systems. This feels very relevant to work, politics, just life now.
Definitely. The material breaks down power into 4 types, and there's a really crucial difference between them.
What's the main distinction?
It's whether the power is finite or infinite. Power over controlling others, exploiting them, that's finite. It has to be hoarded, protected, fought over.
Like there's only so much to go around.
Exactly. But the other 3 types, power with, finding common ground, collaboration, power on, giving people agency, enabling them, and power within, your own sense of self-worth, honoring difference. Those are infinite.
Infinite how?
They actually grow when you share them. The more you collaborate, the more collective power there is. The more you empower others, the stronger the whole system becomes. These are the foundations of healthy leadership.
But that power over model is still so prevalent, especially in politics. The sources describe how it works quite clinically.
Yeah, it's described very impartially as a mechanic. Basically, power over is often gained and maintained by leveraging fear. You give people an enemy.
Someone to blame for their problems.
Right. The source states it pretty bluntly, almost like a formula. If you give people someone to dislike and blame for their pain, you will win 100 times out of 100. It simplifies complex issues into us versus them.
That sounds depressingly effective.
It is, and the material points out something else needed to maintain that kind of power structure.
Which is?
Periodic displays of cruelty.
Cruelty.
To keep the fear alive. To demonstrate who holds the power. The source mentions things like highly visible, maybe even theatrical, actions against vulnerable groups like public deportations are given as one example. It creates chaos, reinforces the U.S. versus them, and reminds everyone who's in charge.
It sounds like a system designed to exploit our deepest fears, that fear of uncertainty we started with.
It taps right into it.
Yeah.
And that brings us to how systems themselves function or malfunction. The research applies systems thinking here.
Okay.
For any system, a company, a community, even a family, to be healthy and adapt, it needs permeable boundaries.
Permeable boundaries.
Yeah.
Meaning things can get in and out.
Exactly. Information, feedback, new ideas, even difficult or challenging ones have to be able to flow across the boundary. Think about a company needing to hear tough feedback about its products or market changes.
So what happens when systems, maybe out of fear, close those boundaries off? When they resist complexity, like AI or major market shifts?
They start to atrophy, they become self-referencing.
Meaning they only listen to themselves.
Yeah. Leadership asks, are we doing okay? And the echo chamber answers, yeah, we're great. They lose touch with the external reality. They stop learning, stop adapting.
And that's the biggest threat.
According to this research, yes. That closure, that refusal to engage with complexity and uncertainty is the death knell for organizations and potentially for the systems we live in.
Wow. Okay, that idea of systems closing off feels really connected to what's happening with technology now. Let's shift to that AI, algorithms, social media. How do they fit into this picture of disconnection?
The sources are pretty direct about this. Algorithms, especially on social media, are generally optimized for engagement. And what drives engagement most effectively?
Let me guess. Fear.
Fear, or confirming what people already believe. It's profitable to keep us either outraged or comfortably inside our own echo chambers.
Which leads to more polarization, more division.
Exactly. The material calls it a form of societal disconnection, even a spiritual crisis, because it strips away nuance in our sense of shared humanity. We get sorted into tribes.
And this connects to a really interesting, maybe slightly worrying observation in the research about a potential thinking class.
Yeah, this was a fascinating point. It highlights a kind of contradiction, particularly noted in tech leadership circles.
What's the contradiction?
Well, often the public advice given is heavily focused on purely technical skills. Learn to code, study physics, STEM above all.
Right, the practical skills.
But then, when these same leaders reflect on their own success, their ability to innovate, to lead through complexity, what do they credit?
Not just coding, I'm guessing.
No. They often point to deep reading in philosophy, history, literature, the liberal arts, things that teach pattern recognition, critical thinking, understanding human nature, holding paradox.
So they value broad thinking for themselves, but push narrow technical training for everyone else.
That's the concern raised, yeah. It hints at a potential future where maybe only a certain group retains the tools for deep critical thinking and leadership, while others are primarily trained for execution.
That's unsettling. Okay, so if algorithms and maybe even educational trends are pushing towards disconnection and narrowness, how do we fight back? How do we find real connection? The idea of belonging comes back strong here.
Yes, true belonging. And it holds a paradox. To truly belong, the research says, you first need the courage to stand alone.
Stand alone. How does that lead to belonging?
It means you have to belong to yourself first. Own your story, your values, your imperfections. You can't betray yourself just to fit in with a group.
Because fitting in isn't the same as belonging.
Not at all. Fitting in is like being a chameleon, changing your colors to match whatever group you're with. That's the opposite of authenticity. It's self-betrayal.
And the danger is settling for what the source calls counterfeit connection.
Exactly. That's when we find connection not through shared humanity, but through shared hatred or shared enemies, huddling in ideological bunkers where everyone agrees or pretends to.
The we hate the same people kind of bond.
Right. And that connection is incredibly fragile. It's conditional. The moment you disagree, the moment you introduce nuance, you're out. It requires silence on differences.
It's based on exclusion, not inclusion.
Precisely. It's a very thin, brittle form of connection that ultimately reinforces isolation.
Okay, so to move towards true belonging and away from this counterfeit stuff, we need courage, we need vulnerability, which brings us back to the practical skills. The research outlined 4 key teachable skills. Let's recap those clearly. What's step 1?
Step 1 is foundational. Get really clear on your core values. You need to be able to name maybe 2 or 3 values that are absolutely non-negotiable for you.
Why is that first?
Because if you don't know what you stand for, you can't stand up for anything. You'll default to fitting in or seeking approval every time vulnerability shows up. Values are your anchor.
Okay, know your values. Step 2.
Step 2 is that tough awareness piece we talked about. Understand your armor. What specifically do you do when you feel exposed, uncertain, or afraid?
Like, name the go-to behavior. Perfectionism, sarcasm, shutting down.
Yes. Map it out. When I feel X, I tend to do Y. Recognizing the pattern is the first step to choosing differently.
Makes sense. Step 3.
Build self-trust. This one's huge, especially after failure or setbacks. Self-trust is basically believing that you're reliable to yourself.
How do you build that? It sounds hard if you've let yourself down.
You build it the same way you build trust with others. Small actions, honoring your values, keeping commitments you make to yourself, setting boundaries and sticking to them. Tiny marbles in your own jar.
Okay. Value clarity, armor awareness, self-trust. And the last one, step 4.
Learn how to get back up. Failure and disappointment are inevitable if you're living bravely. So you need skills for resilience. How do you reset? How do you manage your bounce?
It's not about never falling, but about how you rise.
Exactly. Processing what happened, learning from it, integrating it, and making a conscious choice to try again, maybe differently.
So these 4 steps, they're like the toolkit for navigating everything we've discussed.
They are. They're presented as measurable, teachable skills to practice.
And it's important to stress, right, that this isn't about reaching some perfect state of fearlessness.
Oh, absolutely not. The sources emphasize that the goal isn't to arrive somewhere or overcome vulnerability. The ongoing struggle itself is what builds empathy and grace.
It keeps you human, stops you from becoming rigid or judgmental.
Right. The aim isn't perfection, it's much more grounded. It's simply being able to look at yourself and, like what you are becoming.
Like what you are becoming. That feels achievable. And there's a final metaphor in the material for finding stability in all this, the strong ground.
Yes, it's a very physical practice. When you feel overwhelmed, lost, afraid, the advice is literally find the ground.
Feel your feet on the floor.
Yeah. Push down slightly, connect your body to the earth, maybe even whisper to yourself, strong ground. It's about finding a moment of stability and intentionality when everything feels chaotic, a way to anchor yourself.
That's a really practical takeaway. Strong ground. Okay, so as we wrap up this deep dive, maybe a final thought for you, the listener, to consider.
Building on everything we've covered.
Yeah. Ask yourself, when you avoid being brave, are you truly avoiding fear? Or are you actually avoiding the self-betrayal that your armor demands? What's one piece of armor, maybe just one small thing, that you could choose to put down today because it no longer serves who you want to become?
Something to think about. Thank you for joining us on the deep dive.
Catch you next time.